Okay. Sluggers of the 30s, today on Sunday Baseball.
Hey, sports fans, it's Sunday Baseball with Indy Nidell.
Over at the forum baseballfever.com, there was a discussion about who had the best season of the 30s as a batter, as a slugger. And it got me thinking about 1930s sluggers in general. I mean, there were all sorts of prodigious feats of home runs and slugging going on in the 1930s. Hack Wilson, for example, set the National League record for homers that would stand for nearly 70 years with 56. And his record the same year of 191 RBI will probably last until the sun burns out and becomes just a cold, lifeless ball.
There'll be nothing but night games then.
And flannel uniforms.
It could get nippy.
Both Hank Greenberg and Jimmy Fox made furious runs at Ruth's single-season home run record, and both fell short at 58. Lou Gehrig hit 4 home runs in one game, and it seems like there was a ton of slugging going on, but you know what? Actually, there wasn't. After Babe Ruth began to revolutionize home run hitting in the early 20s, there were several others of his generation who joined in. But it was still pretty rare in the 20s and 30s to hit 30 home runs or even 20 home runs in a season. And while today every team in baseball hits well over 100 or even 200 home runs in a season, back in the 30s it was rare for a team to even hit 100. Except for a freak offensive year like 1930, you usually had only 1 or maybe 2 NL teams topping 100 home runs as a team during the decade, and none at all in 1933. Over in the AL, you had the Athletics, who had Jimmy Fox and Al Simmons, and you had the Yankees of Ruth and Gehrig, who were pretty much topping 100 homers every year, but that was basically it until later in the decade when the A's sucked and the Tigers got good.
Can I say it?
Go ahead.
Yay, Tigers!
We still think of it as a big slugging era because of the exploits of just a few hitters, and they were impressive. Jimmy Fox hit the most home runs in the decade with 415. Lou Gehrig was second with 347. Mel Ott was third with 307 home runs, and these three are by far the only people that managed to hit 300 or more home runs in the 1930s. I should make a side note here that the aging Babe Ruth, who played only 5 full seasons in the 30s, still hit 198 homers, which I think is pretty impressive.
There was only one Babe.
You can read about these guys in any baseball book. Today, I want to focus on some of the lesser-known slugging feats of the 1930s because, once again, there really wasn't that much slugging actually going on. In 1930, for example, rookie Wally Berger hit 38 home runs, a rookie home run record that lasted until Frank Robinson tied it in 1956 and Mark McGwire obliterated it in 1987. However, it's still the second highest total of home runs for a rookie. Now, Berger is often unfairly forgotten today, but he was a huge star in the 30s and started the first 3 All-Star games there ever were until injuries derailed his career mid-decade. Gabby Harnett, affectionately known as Old Tomato Face.
For real?
For real, Larry. Old Tomato Face hit 37 home runs one year, which was a record for catchers that stood until Roy Campanella broke it in 1953. It's now been held for over 40 years by Johnny Bench. Brooklyn's Glenn Wright hit 22 homers in 1930. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but it was a record for shortstop, and it lasted a whole decade till Joe Cronin hit 24 in 1940. Another shortstop hit 19 homers one season that decade, but I think it deserves mention because that shortstop managed to slug .607, which is a record for shortstops that's only ever been broken by Ernie Banks and Alex Rodriguez.
Who was that masked man?
That masked man was none other than Archie Vaughan, and you may be wondering how he could slug so high with only 19 homers. The answer is, he hit .385 that year, and since the dude could take a walk, he had an on-base percentage of .491, which is still the record for shortstops.
I love Archie.
I love Archie too. Hey, how about a big round of applause for Archie Vaughan? Ladies and gentlemen, Archie Vaughan. Yeah.
Ooh, Archie. Yeah.
And how about a big round of applause for Swedish Knock Knock Girl?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Hell.
Hell who?
I'll tell you why I'm so good at these knock knock jokes. Knock knock.
Who's there?
McCrae.
McCrae who?
My cranial capacity is just so big.
I like that one.
Okay, do Bert Campaneris.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Bert.
No way.
Bert who?
Bert, to be honest with you. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Campaneris.
Campaneris who?
Campaneris' car is a lot more convenient than camping far away from it.
Okay, that was kind of clever, actually. Back to the sluggers. I'm going to mention another shortstop here because 1 year after Vaughn hit .385, Luke Appling hit .388 for the Chicago White Sox, which is the modern record for shortstops, and he drove in 128 runs with only 6 home runs because there wasn't really that much slugging going on. Okay, saving the best for last. My favorite slugging feat of the 30s, and Larry, you're going to love me for this because this guy was a Detroit Tiger.
I'm bursting with love right now.
All right, Here we go. This young man, Rudolph Preston York, better known as Rudy, came up with the Detroit Tigers as a first baseman. The only problem is the Tigers already had a first baseman, Hall of Famer Hank Greenberg. So they tried York at third, but he wasn't really a third baseman. But they wanted to keep his bat in the lineup. So out of desperation, on August 4th, 1937, they put Rudy York in as catcher. And in the month of August 1937, playing catcher Rudy York hit 18 home runs and drove in 50 runs.
18 home runs in 1 month?
Not just that, 18 home runs his first month as an everyday player.
Was that a record?
That was indeed the record for home runs in a month, Larry, and not just for rookies, for everyone, passing Babe Ruth's mark of 17 set in September 1927 and lasting 61 years until Sammy Sosa and a whole bunch of chemicals hit 20 in 1 month in 1998. So I think it's time for another round of applause for a forgotten hero of the 30s. Ladies and gentlemen, Rudy York! Rudy York, yeah.
Rudy York.
Woo, yeah. Rudy, a message to you, Rudy. Stop your slugging around. But that's it for today, but we'll see you next week with more Sunday Baseball. For more cool baseball trivia and history, follow Sunday Baseball on Twitter. Sunday Baseball is shot every week at Larry's Corner in Stockholm, Sweden.